It's me, Makoto!
And me, Akira!
Today we're excited to start a brand new video series for our channel. Go Industry Tours! Woo!
This series will give our travelers insight into the anime, visual novel, and music industry from industry professionals themselves.
Now, for our first guest, please give a warm welcome to Kouryuu! Pachi!
Hello!
Welcome!
よろしくお願いします。
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yay.
Good to be chatting with you guys.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Anyways, to start things off here, I know I've heard that MangaGamer has been going around to different conventions in America, and that you guys just recently went to Otakon. How was it?
Yeah, Otakon was better than I expected given everything that's going on. The overall attendance was down, but you know, I was expecting it to be maybe like half the usual attendance with, you know, everything that's happening, but it was only down like 10 or 11% total. So, yeah, the crowds were still pretty thin in the dealer's hall. So, but we came out. We made a good bit of money. It was nice seeing everyone again. It was definitely great to be able to talk to our fans in person and really, you know, introduce visual novels to a lot of new people.
New faces.
Yeah.
Always happy.
You've never
And we
been...
saw quite a few of our regulars too.
Oh,
Even happier.
yeah. We've never been to an American anime convention before, but it'd be so wonderful to go. One day.
Yes.
Anyways.
I would say, I think if you ever come to Anime Expo, that's almost as crowded as Comic-Con.
American Comic Market!
アメリカ。
どんな感じかな？
気になる。
気になる。I wonder what it's like. Anyways.
It's so packed and so many lines, you have to wait for hours to see any of the panels and videos.
I'm sure it's worth it.
And more about you then. What are your current projects like right now?
Yeah.
それ本当に答えちゃっていいの？
いいよ。
YouTube で。
いいよ。どうぞ聞きたい。
ね、最近終わったプロジェクトは、声優会社でバンバンやるゲームで、そして次なるプロジェクトは、異世界でバンバンやるやらしいゲームです。
No.
No.
Isekai is not allowed. What are you doing? Bringing more out in English.
いやらしい異世界だって。What do you think?
Not allowed at
Double no?
all.
Double no?
It's a double no.
I don't know.
そのゲームの主人公の能力、異世界能力もやらしいもんで。
なんか気になるんだけど。I'm kind of curious. No?
I don't approve.
どうかな?
Can't say too much about it yet. Haven't announced it.
Well, I'll have to
Super
keep...
secret.
Yeah, we have to keep our eyes peeled then for more info.
Keep your eyes big and wide.
Anyways, to go back to the very start here. So, Kouryuu, how did you get your start working in the visual novel industry?
So I was originally... It started when I was in college. After I was majoring in Japanese in college, and I had decided that I wanted to be a translator, and that was what I wanted to do with my degree. But, you know, finding work for that is a challenge. And I knew I wanted to do like something with the industry because, you know, I love Japanese video games and anime. And, you know, if I'm being honest, that was what I was actually more interested in at first, was working on like video games, anime. But I did enjoy visual novels. I really got into them during my years at college when I finally met a few people that were into visual novels, kind of found out what they were. Some of my first games were, you know, Tsukihime and Planetarian. And so it was after I graduated college. I had been trying to find a job for several months when I saw the in the visual novel forums that I was a part of, they had posted about, MangaGamer, which at this time was, a brand new player in the visual novel scene, was going to be at Otakon, which is my local anime convention. I grew up here in Maryland. And so, at the time I had been working on Soul Link from Naval as a fan translation. And, MangaGamer had announced that they were, or at least there were rumors that they were going to be releasing Shuffle. So I sent an email over when I saw that the website was asking for help at Otakon, and I showed up, and I helped work the booth, and by the end of the weekend, I found out that literally the only other person from the company there at the booth with me was one of MangaGamer's board members. And after having explained things to him over the weekend and him watching me sell things, I was basically hired on the spot.
That's such a nice story.
素敵な話.
Yeah. It's always so important to put yourself out there so that new things happen, right?
Yeah, it's really so much fate, right? Oh, so
yeah, it's crazy to think about what I might have been doing if not for that. Because I was not in a good headspace with everything that was going on at the time, and just how hard it was finding a job. So
we can really relate to, right? It's been tough with Misaki tours, having to close and everything, but yeah, now we're kind of similar too, right? Now we found our new calling.
Yeah.
But wow, so Kouryuu, then you're the big veteran in the industry then, huh?
Big senpai.
Big senpai.
I would say I think Jast's Peter Payne is probably one of the few who's been in the English industry longer than me. Yeah, I've been in this industry for, it's 2021 now, so that's 12 years.
Only a couple more until 15.
Anniversary.
So if it wasn't then for VNs, then would you be working in the anime industry, do you think, or maybe game industry?
Honestly, if it weren't for VNs, I do have I do work in the anime industry some now. I do translation for Crunchyroll on the side, but I honestly got that job because I worked on Capo 3 with MangaGamer. So I wouldn't even be doing that if not for visual novels.
Wow.
It's funny how the world works in mysterious ways.
Mysterious.
Right?
I guess before you started working in the visual novel industry, were you a student then, or just searching for jobs then, or?
So it's when I first got out of college, I was taking care of my grandparents, and while I was trying to search for jobs, and I was looking for jobs in either video game or anime industry, and of course, all the places that were hiring for video games wanted experience that I didn't have, and they wanted you to either live in California already, which is the other side of the US. So, and trying to get any kind of federal translation in the area, they don't really need Japanese translators in DC.
Well, I'm so glad that everything worked out with MangaGamer though. Wow, it really, really was fate, right? And I guess then, what's your favorite title that you worked on, regardless of mediums? It could be anime or anything.
I mean, regardless of medium, I'd still have to say Teardrop is probably one of the few titles I worked on that has really stuck with me over the years. For those who aren't familiar, it's one of the titles by, Overdrive and Bamboo in their rock and roll series. And it's the drama and the characters and the heart and the depth behind the story. There's so much in that and really any of Overdrive's rock and roll games that it's really that kind of game that makes you reflect on life and relate to, and it's just very impactful, and it was a lot of fun working on it and being able to bring that to other people.
It's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, I think me and my friends, we actually got together and cosplayed as the cast of the Teardrops band for one Otakon.
Do you have any photos?
I'd have to see if I still have any lying around. I know we took photos. I'd have to see if I still have them.
なんか気になるよね。
気になる。
I really love that about visual novels. How they have this, compared to anime, they have a really
lasting effect,
right? They can change your life in a very strange way. So I really like visual novels because of that.
Yeah.
I guess other than that, do you have any other memorable moments or highlights of your career so far?
I would say probably the highlight of my career is not really any one little thing, but it's the culmination of everything I did that kept MangaGamer alive during those first 5 years. There's so many of our current staff that we have now, our oldest staff, most of them sort of joined at the tail end of what we now call the Dark Ages, where it's just there were a lot of issues when it first started out, and they're things that are kind of typical to the localization industry when you're not familiar with it. So they were Japanese companies put this company together to try and localize these games and bring them to the West. So at first they don't speak English. They didn't have any way to judge what counted or qualified as a good translation. So a lot of the very early games that were released before I joined had severe issues with quality, and I fought long and hard enough with the people running the company to do something about that I was eventually given a chance to sort of review all the works and point out and try to correct some of them, and that ultimately led to replacing everyone that they had started with, and finding new people. There's one, for example, when I was working on one Kouryuu Curtain Call. That was one of the first games that I worked on, and at that point in time, MangaGamer didn't have any editor at all. There was no editor that ever looked over the text in any games. And so I would be going through, working on the translation, and I'd be chatting with my friend from college who had moved to Britain to be like, does this line sound right to you? Is this line good to you? And I basically kept doing that so often that he was like, okay, either you need to stop or you need to pay me. So I, again, went up, talked to the people running MangaGamer, and basically got them to hire him to do what I was basically having him doing. And so he became our first editor, and he reviewed and fixed up several projects, which was a good boon for him at the time, too, because it helped him out as he was trying to do stuff with theater over in Britain.
Wow.
And so he was the first editor we had. He's retired from MangaGamer since then, and then at that point we still didn't have beta testers either.
Yeah.
So, eventually, it was those kind of little things like, okay, eventually we needed to, bring on these people to, do beta testing after the editing, and just a lot of those sort of small structural changes. Like when I first joined, they didn't have anyone really doing any marketing at all for MangaGamer. So I started a blog on WordPress, and that, eventually became the MangaGamer blog that we have now. And, as our company's grown, we've hired more people and expanded our abilities there, but that's what I would say is kind of the main highlight, is just all those little things that I did, because, back when I was working on, Kira and Edelweiss and Deerdrops, me and Bamboo, we would all, talk over dinner at Anime Expo, if we're even still around 5 years from now, we're doing great.
But it's always the little things that count, right? They make a big difference.
Yeah, they add up. They add up.
Wow, it's so interesting to hear how everything came together. But really, it's the journey that's the number one treasure in the end, right? Well, I guess recently we've been playing a lot of Kindred Spirits on the Roof with our travelers, but we heard it made some waves when it was initially released on Steam Uncut. I heard even that the president of Valve, Gabe Newell, he commented on the issue when another Lyra soft title, Gakuten of the Golden Lightning, was coming out. What was your experience like when dealing with that situation, and what was the response it received?
Oh my. So, even though this was only 4 years ago in real time, it feels like a whole bygone era in time at this point, because of how much everything has changed on Steam since then. So, it's to sort of go back in time a bit, when we were doing the release for Kindred Spirits and Gakuten, this was after Steam had launched their Steam Greenlight program, which they've already, retired. And it was through Steam Greenlight that we were able to break in, get visual novels on Steam in the first place. Higurashi and Gogo Nippon were some of the first two that we actually managed to get on Steam through that program. And, prior to Steam Greenlight, we had emailed and reached out to Steam to try and get visual novels on Steam. And at the time, they're like, they're not games. They're not for our platform.
So mean.
And, but they were saying that to a lot of people too. It was much more curated back then, and so it's Steam Greenlight where they allowed people to sort of vote on what games they wanted to see on Steam platform. I was one of the first people to catch when that started, and so we immediately got our games on there and made a big push to get our fans and other people to vote for them. And so there was a really big turnout of fans, and it kind of proved to Steam that, this wasn't a genre they could just ignore. That there was a large number of people who wanted visual novels and wanted visual novel games. And so, because of Steam Greenlight and those two games and that push, that is sort of why visual novels are available on Steam at all anymore now. And so, back at that time, when your game got through Steam Greenlight, you were assigned a Steam representative.
Oh.
So you had someone at Steam that you could talk to, that you could ask questions, that you could seek guidance for, and so because of that, the situation with visual novels became complicated.
Oh.
So our representative, for example, was sort of staunchly in the camp of, no, you can't have patches even off-site that would add, certain content back into the games that Steam wasn't allowing at the time. And there was another representative or two that were telling other companies the opposite. They were saying that patches were okay, make sure none of that is in your game on Steam.
That's not fair.
It wasn't fair, and so we talked to our representative about titles like Kindred Spirits, where that sort of content is, on the same level that you would see in, an M-rated movie on HBO. So, it's very tame by most standards, and generally content-wise, like as far as, TV is concerned, the content in it would have been acceptable for television. And so, we had that conversation with our representative, and they were very much on our side with that, and so they helped us get Kindred Spirits, approved and on Steam as is. And they did that with us for, Kindred Spirits on the Roof, and with Gokthun of the Golden Lightning. And so, that was a big celebration for us because it was the furthest these games have been pushed on Steam. I mean, you still had things like, Mass Effect, where there were romance scenes once you got so far along a path. So, but in terms of visual novels, it was the first time any game in visual novels was able to pick anything like that, on the Steam platform. And so that made a huge fuss and huge rounds as press everywhere started covering it, and exaggerating it a bit because it's press and running with it. Fans were overjoyed, and of course, that sort of rekindled the debate over, okay, do we have to patch? Do we have to? Can we put on? What's the rule here? And so that's I think that's sort of where that sort of controversy that got re-sparked is why, Gabe had to come out and comment, make his comment about how, this is what we would need to do before Steam could do it this way. And I was very surprised when a few years later they basically did that with switching from Steam Greenlight to Steam Direct, where, but of course, the downside is now Steam Direct, it's a lot more automated, we don't have that personal touch anymore, so, now we're in that state where it's much more confusing about what is okay and not okay to be on Steam. Two steps forward, one step back.
It'd just be easier if they were just upfront with everything, right?
Yeah, that's what I think every day.
I'm happy though that VNs are now on Steam though, lots and lots, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that MangaGamer is maybe behind the reason why there's more games like visual novels and more like doki visual novels on there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if it wasn't for us getting our visual novels on, Steam and through Steam Greenlight, I don't think visual novels ever would have been on Steam. Because prior to us at Steam Greenlight, like I said, Valve didn't consider them games. It didn't consider them fit for the platform at all. And that was not an uncommon opinion by PC retail platforms at the time.
It's hard to think that there's people out there that would think that VNs are not games, but...
Go Nippon is a game, right? Right? You all agree, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on a lighter note, is there any specific titles that you'd like to work on next? One that would maybe feel like a big achievement or something.
I mean, the holy grail would be to work on, anything Type Moon or from the Fate series.
Yeah.
Yeah, if MangaGamer ever managed to license anything from that, I would fight tooth and nail for it.
Wow. I'm sure it'd feel like a dream since Tsukihime was one of your first VNs, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so far the closest I've come is working on the translation for the anime of Fate Kaleido Liner Prisma Ilia.
Wow.
Super cute.
Hopefully, dreams come true soon. But I guess next to that, though, is there maybe a particular genre you'd like to try working on? You mentioned Yarashi Isekai, but maybe something opposite, or...
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of Yarashi games lately, so I definitely want to try working on something that's less that. Probably something Chu-ni, actually. I have worked on, I've done a lot with the music series between Teardrops and comedy with Edelweiss, and I did action with my last Clock Up game that I worked on, and I had a chance to work on an actual RPG with Magic and Slash, so that was fun. But yeah, I think like a 2D story is really one of the few titles that I haven't worked on yet.
Is there any like Chu-ni anime in particular that you like?
Oh my gosh. At the moment, the only thing coming to my mind is the one I worked on, which was the supernatural battles aren't commonplace anymore. I worked on that anime, and that was a slapstick, tongue-in-cheek kind of Chu-ni story.
I can't think of any Chu-ni anime that I've been watching recently, but Aki-chan, do you have any thoughts on Chu-ni? No Chu-ni, no isekai anime? No?
No. Especially not them all combined.
Well, I guess given that you work on boing boing games for a living, are you able to find some time and appreciate them just as a fan? Is there any titles that you've read recently?
Oh, this is a embarrassing question.
Surprisingly, actually, because I work on so many for work, I have not read as many outside of work. I think the most recent visual novel I've read that hasn't been for work is actually Vampires of the Masquerade, Coteries of New York, which is based on the tabletop game by the same name, Vampires of the Masquerade. But no, I've been most of the time, when I'm not working, I play other video games or I do tabletop gaming with my friends.
I'm not too familiar with tabletop gaming, but is that like a Japanese title or a Western one?
So Vampires of the Masquerade is a Western one, and it's so tabletop games, things like Dungeons and Dragons is probably the ones people are most familiar with. I think probably the closest in Japan that would give you kind of an idea of the aesthetic of like Dungeons and Dragons would be Records of Lodos War. But it's that idea of you play as different characters, and kind of in Dungeons and Dragons it's a medieval fantasy, where you have magic and swords, and it's just a lot of fun. You play on the games, and unlike video games, there's not really any boundaries. Like you can you want to go jump off a cliff, you can. You'll take falling damage. But it's, there's usually one person at the table. It's sort of the GM or the dungeon master who, they are the ones that kind of decide how the NPCs and the enemies and the villains react to, what the players choose to do. And so Vampire the Masquerade specifically is more of a modern dark fantasy where you play as characters that have been turned into vampires. And one of the key mechanics of it is, sort of hunger and the beast, this idea that if you don't feed on people and satisfy your hunger, often enough, that will eventually cause sort of the beast to take control and force you to do things, whether it's, assault people or try and put others down.
This isn't something dirty, right? Right?
I mean,
What?
players can choose to make it that, but at my table, we don't go in that direction.
That sounds good to me. I think it sounds really fun, though. I've heard of D&D before, but I've never had a chance to play it, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we have enough friends.
Sometimes travelers come though and they talk about it, but that sounds fun. I want to be a vampire.
I'll be a dragon instead. Yeah.
Okay. I guess other than gaming, do you have any other new hobbies that you've come up with since working in the anime industry?
New hobbies. My mind is drawing a blank at the moment. I thought I had something.
I know Aki-chan recently started having a couple plants, right? Plant babies.
Yeah.
I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if I spend a lot of between tabletop gaming with my friends and video gaming, and that's a lot of time. I do, we have lots of pets too. I have 2 cats and a dog, and I'm currently babysitting one of my friend's cats who's home shopping.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the cats have all formed a little menagerie, and they run around the house trying to avoid the dog.
That sounds so nice though, D&D and other tabletop gaming with friends, and then lots and lots of pets to keep you company. Sounds like a good life and home.
I want to join the baby cat.
Yes. Our one cat loves to jump on the table when we're playing and just knock over all the miniatures.
Wow, that sounds like the best gaming ever.
I want to be bothered too.
I guess back to translating then. What's the most fun part of your job?
It's probably, so there's a couple, I would say there's a couple different things. Like, I really enjoy when I get the chance to work on sort of complicated text. Like, my previous title with Clock Up, the text in that game was very dense and, very complicated. It uses a lot of, terminology and language that if I had showed to the people in my dorm when I was studying abroad in Japan, it would have been like, I have no idea what that means.
I can only imagine.
And so that can be a lot of fun to work on for the challenge that it presents of trying to capture the words and, especially capture the words in like English equivalents. And that can be a lot of fun. I also really enjoy, like, when I do work on something that's very impactful, like Teardrops, because with games like that, you very easily get into, a moment where you're working on the scene and you are, deep in all of the emotions of that scene and bringing the emotions of that scene together, and that kind of zone is really nice when you can get into it, and hearing people talk about how they react to those scenes, a year later, months, a year later when the game is finally released is a lot of fun too.
Wow, it sounds really hard though being a translator, right? There's so many Japanese words and terms that don't quite go into English.
But the game really becomes like almost like a baby, right? You put so much love and effort into it.
Oh, it definitely does. It definitely does.
Well, I'm sure we're all very thankful for all your hard work.
Yeah, Kouryuu is gonna have more babies in the future.
More VN babies, right?
You have no idea how close you are with that.
I guess, so you kind of talked about the experience, I guess. Do you have any other, I guess, exciting moments, or maybe this was a really, really hard time in a project that you could talk about, maybe? Or?
The hardest part of working on visual novels, and this is something that I've told to a few people before that have asked about it, is dealing with project fatigue. When I was working on Da Capo 3, that game was over, 2 million characters, which, is equivalent to about 1 million words. It's longer than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And so it's working on the same project for that long is tiring. And even when the game is good, even when you love the game, even when it is enjoyable to work on, you will still hit burnout. It's just for games that are that long, it's just an unavoidable consequence. And so one of the sort of hardest things to learn as a translator is how to overcome and push through that, because it's going to differ for every translator what gets you through it, what gives you the physical, emotional motivation you need to keep going when the last thing you want to do is look at the words on a page. And it's just something you learn from experience. And so that is that's just the hardest part of translating. And because even once you know how to do it, you still fight it again every time you work on a long project.
Is there something you specifically do to try to avoid burnout, or do you just power to it?
It's what helped me power through it with Da Capo was, kind of reminding myself, why it is that I work on these games, why I fell in love with visual novels, what it is, why I do this in the first place. That idea of I do enjoy these games and I do want to share these games. Because in that state of burnout, you very much get in that sense of where you, even though you know the answer, you question, why am I doing this? Why do I keep coming back to this page day after day? And so you do have to kind of, whether it's write it down or remember it or whatever, so that you can kind of remembering and reminding yourself of the reasons you do it. And some of it is just pushing through. And just kind of reminding yourself, okay, it's not going anywhere if you don't work on it. This isn't going away. It's still going to be here if you don't work on it, And so it's even if you can only get, 10, 20 lines or whatever out today, you need to get those out, because if you don't get any, it's all still going to be there tomorrow, and the next day, and next week, and next month.
Exactly. One step is better than no steps, right?
Small little steps.
Yeah.
When
it's like the tortoise who wins the race, right?
Yeah. Oh, I know with Misaki tours, every day is new tours, so we never really have to deal with, I guess, the monotonous, do this today,
that's
do
a
it
big
tomorrow.
word.
Monotonous. Yeah, it's a new word, Aki-chan. But yeah, so it's... I guess it's not really something that we've experienced so much, but we're glad that you're able to work through it. You're strong.
Power.
You're strong. I guess... there are no...
You talked a bit about your experience in Japan before, but where did you go?
So I've been to Japan a total of 2 times now, planning on a third. My first was when I went there to college for a full year-long study abroad, and during that time I was living out of one of the college dorms for Kouryuu University in Higashi Ojima is where my dorm was. So I was, commuting on the little Shinjuku metro over to Kouryuu University every day, which was good and bad because it meant that Akihabara was on the train stop that my student pass covered.
Happy for you, bad for the wallet.
Yeah. You're probably just
Exactly.
You're probably just as familiar with Akiba as us then, right?
Yeah, right?
I do kind of consider Akiba kind of a second home away from home, but it's changed so much since the year I was there.
Akiba is always evolving.
Yeah.
Every single day it's different.
What is it? The like big giant like 24-story building that's there just off the main drag now. I know they were still building it back when I was there in 2007, 2008.
Oh.
I think they'd only just... They were still doing the, like, underground construction for that building.
UDX?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so old. Wow.
UDX is so much fun. There's so many amazing restaurants to eat at there, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of fun events as well, right?
But Kouryuu University.
Oh, very fancy.
Yeah,
fancy.
Yeah, and then my second trip, I went to Tokyo to meet the shareholders in person at MangaGamer. So that was a lot of fun. I got to write off the trip as a business expense.
Lucky.
And then I proceeded to spend almost my entire paycheck on Dojin and Akira.
There it goes. Goodbye, wallet. Goodbye, money.
You mentioned that you're planning another trip, but if you could go to Japan right now, where do you want to go to?
So the trip that I'm planning next is actually the honeymoon for me and my wife.
Oh, wow. Omedetou!
Yeah.
Omedetou! Oh, super lovey-dovey.
Yeah, we had everything all planned out and scheduled to go, and our flight was the day before Japan closed their airport.
Oh, bad timing.
Yeah. So we've been waiting for Japan to reopen so we can take our trip. I know she wants to go see the Ghibli Museum. I want us to go during cherry blossom season. 'Cause I really liked seeing the cherry blossoms in Tokyo when I was there. And just there was a nice path on the street between the station and the dorm where I stayed that was just lined with cherry blossoms next to the river there. And so yeah, during cherry blossom season I would kind of take the detour so I could walk that path home. It was just so pretty, and there was a bunch of kitty cats that would wander along that path too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That sounds so wonderful. I really hope that Japan will open up again and we'll be able to come back to Japan.
Soon.
Maybe we can guide you around for a tour or something. That'd be awesome.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. I have another question, actually. Is it okay? So, is this your first time with VTubers? Or are you familiar with VTubers before chatting with us today?
I have... You guys were I've watched your streams since you debuted.
Thank you!
But, yeah, prior to that, I was I was familiar in passing. I hadn't watched a whole lot of them, but a lot of the people that I follow on Twitter have shared things about Korone, Emilia, and the bunny one.
Pekora. Pekora
Yeah,
senpai.
Pekora. And I know I caught Melody's one of her early videos when she first started.
Oh. Wow.
But
Wow. I feel lucky to be amongst such a big roster of big names. Let's do our best to get there someday, Aki-chan, right?
Yeah, aim for the stars.
Aim for the stars. I guess on that topic, is there anything that you'd like to see from us maybe in the future? We've done some VN streams so far and some singing streams as well, but do you have any ideas?
Yeah.
me and my friends, my coworkers, were actually joking at Otakon. It would probably be hilarious to watch you two play Minecraft and see how Akira reacts when Makoto brings a creeper home.
The creepers are the scary green guys, right?
Yep, they blow up on you.
I don't want that.
We've never played Minecraft, but I'm sure it will be very interesting when we do, right?
All I know is that the Minecraft cats have a good sound. And I like them.
They meow really cutely, right?
Bring the cats home.
Yeah, I played quite a bit of Minecraft myself back a couple of years after I got out of college. Me and a couple friends from the con circuit got a server and played it for a while.
I've never played it before, but it looks like something I could get really hooked into.
I guess maybe this is a question that a lot of our travelers are wondering too. But what are your favorite traits for your ideal waifu? Do you like big boing boing? Or maybe something more like Aki-chan?
それ聞いちゃいますか。
聞いちゃいますよ。
それ聞いちゃダメですよ。
いや
そもそも
みんな聞きたいでしょ。
そもそも大きさの問題じゃないんですよ。大きがいいなんて、小さくがいいなんて、その考え自体が小さい。
じゃあどっちもっていうことですか？
いや、もっと全体的なバランスが、それが重要なんです。だって小さなスレンダーな女に大きな胸をつければ、違和感しか生まないんですよ。
確かに。
わかる。
逆もそう、そのヒップとか、後ろのラインがいい女に小さな胸があれば、それ笑っちゃうんです。
確かに同感ですよ、本当は。同感です。
わかる。
だから大きい小さいは、それはダメです。全体的なバランスが絶対。
じゃあわかりました。Kouryuuさんが本物の紳士っていうことですね。Right?
あと足がいい。
A real gentleman.
Then, who is better? Makoto or Akira? Akira. Akira. Right.
Akira, you're asking too many hard questions. Don't blink like that.
まあ僕はロングハーなんだからマコネにするしかないんじゃないんですか。
やったー、私の勝ちだー。いやーThank you
でもゲームならアキちゃんとやりたい。
Good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good answers, right? Real gentlemen.
Okay, maybe. Maybe.
Now then, before we head off for today, do you have anything else that you'd like to add? Maybe something to say to all our travelers?
Oh.
Thank you all for, tuning in. Thank you for inviting me. It's been, a lot of fun to talk about, what I do as a translator, what we do here at MangaGamer. I know we always have a Q&A session at our panels at, Otakon and other conventions, but, that's one of the things that I really like doing is talking like this kind of, one-on-one with fans and with, people that, like yourselves that can help kind of spread that message, because there really is a lot here to enjoy, both the games that we make and behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So, it's really nice to have these opportunities to talk, and so I'm really excited to see who else you guys are going to bring on for your next industry tours. And yeah, I hope people watching this will, take a chance to, maybe try out some of the games from MangaGamer.
Yeah.
Some of the games that I've worked on.
Well, it was a pleasure talking to you today, Kouryuu. Thank you so much for coming in. 今日はありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll see all our travelers next time on Go Go Industry Tours. Bye bye.
Bye bye.